Okay, so I'm back in from outside here for a minute. I just felt like I had to finish this rant. It's a little disjointed, but we're talking about how to disseminate the information, how to distinguish the good information from the bad. And I'm going to kind of call this my call out BS rant. Again, I'm into using euphemism because I'm a civilized guy. But basically, as we go through this life, it doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter what we get good at. It doesn't matter when we go out looking for information, we go to people that we don't know because they have information. So, what the purpose of this rant is to give you the ability to call bullshit. And I'm going to call it BS from now. But the point is, at some point when some guy's talking to you about something that you don't know about, you've got to learn to be comfortable and say, BS. Now all that means is question this. Find out from somebody. I remember one time, I had a guy come on a job with this really cool trailer. And I said, hey, where'd you get that trailer? Oh, I built it myself. I'm doing a bunch of work with trailers. And he goes on and he built a really nice trailer. And he got to talking about trailers and the work he was doing. And he made a comment that he had went out and bought 5 or 6 different sets of tires for this thing. Because he was testing which one got the best mileage. Because he's hauling this equipment around and he had tire changing equipment, and he would take the time to, as he worked through the year, he'd swap out these tires. Because nobody, and this is where we digress, we parted ways. He said, nobody's ever done a study on which tires get better mileage. And it's up to me to find out, because if I'm going to get this cool trailer built and I'm going to start selling it, I'm also going to sell it with these high mileage, and nobody's ever, and I said, stop. What do you mean nobody's ever? Well, nobody's ever, I can't find the information. Now, think with me, people. The fact that you can't find the information does not mean that the information's not available. I assured him that every tire store in the world had engineers, teams of engineers that studied, and the term that he's looking for is called rolling resistance. And all tires are a balance of traction versus rolling resistance versus life versus... There's a whole understood science out there. Just because you're not aware of it does not mean that it's mysterious. And there's a bunch of things in this shooting industry that have to do with accuracy, tuning guns, which is a phrase that's thrown around out there, all these different ways of tuning guns, the way bullets fly, ballistic coefficient, what does it mean, ES versus SD, mean versus average versus... There's all this stuff that we go out to try to get, and somewhere along there's going to be somebody that says, well, this is poorly explained or poorly explored or unexplained, or now we're out in the weeds where nobody can really, BS. This is when your BS meter needs to go off. I need to be clear. There are no smart people in the world. There are no people out there that have access to and can use and know things, have access to information, use information. No, there are specialists in this world. When I need an engineer to validate a concept that I've got or to tear it apart, I come up with a concept, I bring it to an engineer to put the numbers to it, to run whether it's computer simulations or use coefficients, you take the term ballistic coefficient. People throw this around. I have no idea what a coefficient even means. I was designing a retaining wall one time on a surface. And the engineer said, well, if I could come up with a coefficient for that surface, then we could proceed. Well, coefficient means one thing. And we're gonna explain all this stuff. That's the purpose of all this. Coefficient means the efficiency or the efficacy of a thing contrasted against a known constant. Now that sounds like big words, but understand, a good teacher can always get through all that. I'm not baffled. This show specifically exists to combat BS, doublespeak, triplespeak, baffling with BS. What I'm saying is, there are no mysteries. We live on this beautiful planet, and we do beautiful things. We go do a job that most of us do a job that we don't even understand. We get paid with script, which we call money, which we don't even understand. We go on the inner tube and some idiot talks about money or Keynesian economics or crap. When in reality, it's really simple. One guy farms tomatoes, one guy farms potatoes. The two will trade until the one guy goes, you know what? I hate tomatoes. Okay, then you go trade for some rabbits. And so, script, money. The point is, we do a job that we may or may not understand. We get paid, and then we get up in an airplane and we fly away on vacation somewhere. 'Cause physics, people. 'Cause physics. Not 'cause opinions. Not 'cause this one dude did this one thing this one time and it worked. Yes, a lot of things are serendipitous, like the penicillin. Guy's out doing some experimentation, he ends up with the father or the mother or the forebear or whatever it is of antibiotics. Cool, penicillin's still a great thing. Aspirin's still a great thing. But when I was a kid, I get a little not a paper airplane because they're different, but I got my first balsa wood airplane. Look. And I look, and the wings have got this little curve, and I throw this airplane, and it's traveling flat, and it's lifting. Interesting. I understand that if I throw something like this, that it's like skids on the air or something, but this plane is going flat, and it's lifting. I was blessed with parents who didn't ever talk baby talk, who didn't ever talk down to me, who didn't ever presume that I'm a little person, therefore I'm an idiot, therefore. No. If I asked a question of a full-blown adult, and it was a full-blown adult question, and I was 7 years old, they would tell me. If I didn't explain it, then sometimes they'd go, well, you need to read some books or wait till you're here in math or whatever. But never was I told, you can't understand this. Just, you're not quite ready for it yet. But anyway, I asked about this airplane. Luckily, I ran across somebody who had studied flight mechanics. They're like, well, yeah, air, stretch the air over the top and the ambient lifts it. Now I talk to flight people and they don't even, I use the term ambient, they don't even know what I'm talking about. I just made that up. The point is that that's what it is, pressure differential. The plane is lifting. So you got two things to do with flying. You got a tack angle and you've got a pressure differential that's generated by the fact that you're stretching the air over the wing. And when you stretch air, it makes it go faster and it decreases. This is the Venturi effect. You go. But I'm not going to try to explain that to you because that'd be silly. It takes classrooms. So what happens is you go in the inner tube now and people are trying to tell you how a bullet flies. This is why this is relevant. And I'm giving you the freedom to pull out the BS meter. When some hose bag, some puss bucket, some wannabe imparter of information starts talking about Magnus effect or Coriolis or spin drift or right-hand drift or rolling on the wind or, go off another way and say, oh, MOA is stupid, it's for losers and fails. Mil dots are the only way to go because blah, 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 blah. People insist on talking in meters instead of yards. People, I'm telling you, you have to be able to pull out the BS meter because, number one, there are no mysteries in this world. There is not a part or particle of ballistics that's not well understood. Do yourself a favor and see if you can find a copy of Rifle Accuracy Facts. Harold Vaughn was pretty good at putting things in layman's terms and using things like what he terms the old engineer's trick, which means exacerbate a problem. And I'm sorry to use a word like exacerbate, but that's the right word. Magnify the problem. Magnify so that we can now see. For instance, I'm driving down the road to a dentist appointment today because I just had a bunch of surgery on my upper jaw about an hour ago. I just got back in. And this guy's talking about the fact that how bullets fly and coefficients of form and dynamic stability and static stability and stabilization and precision and nutation and gyroscopic effects and all this stuff that you would never understand. And now he pulls out all these bullets and he's looking at them, and there's one bullet that he calls a cast copper bullet. It's got a really pointy tip. And in my brain I'm going, oh, this lathe turns solid. But so what? He's saying, well, yeah, the pointy tip one flies way better because the point goes through the air. And now over here we got these match bullets. And when we look at the end of them, you would almost think they're a hollow point, but the end of them is all raggedy. And I used to think that raggedy end, but they still shoot pretty good. And I wonder what, I'm like, you know what, just stop right there. Why don't you go ask somebody, how come? Because here's a fact. Let's start with the facts. Let's start with facts. Our understanding can come later. The most successful race car drivers on the circuit don't understand how the fuels that they have, they don't understand what gasoline is. Gasoline's not a thing. I can't count the number of people that I've said that think they understand gasoline. They say, well, yeah, that old gas, the octane's all out of it. The octane evaporated into the atmosphere. So I go on the inner tube and I'm like, oh, with octane. No, I didn't, because I'm far beyond that. But the point is, octane's not a thing. It's a rating. Octane's not a... Gasoline is made of a bunch of things. Now, there's no mystery there. I don't understand it because I don't understand hexanes and heptanes and fractioning towers and how they break everything out of the dead plants that are rotting around underground. But that doesn't mean I can't, and that doesn't mean somebody can come up to me and blow me off because I ask a question. But the fact that a racer doesn't know how his gasoline is made, how the octane works, how he knows appropriate octane, he doesn't have to know about stoichiometric pressures. He doesn't, well, to a certain point, you have to use things that you work with. But my point is, there are engineers, there are specialists. I use the term engineer. Be careful, I'm going to start using the word specialist. When you need a gasoline or a diesel or a fuel of any sort formulated for a specific job because you've just made a big undersea engine that you want to go down and mine something off the bottom of the ocean, you go to a professional and say, hey, what kind of fuel would be appropriate for this thing? Because physics, people. And that guy will explain to you and you'll say, well, I don't really understand, He says, okay, well, here's a chart. Here's the thing. This gives you power. This gives you torque. This gives you long burn time. This gives you, oh, okay, now we're talking. This is the essence of teaching and the essence of learning. And my job here is, I'm getting close to 60 years old, and finally I'm sick and tired of the old guys telling me you can't understand this. I'm finding out the older I get, the dumber the old guys get. I know that's completely backwards. But the simple fact is, if I ask a question of someone and they can't answer it, it's because they don't know. That happened when I was 8. That happened when I was 18. And that's going to happen until I'm 80. And I'm finally learning to call BS on stuff. And I'm trying to put this out to free it up and say, listen, people, you are as smart as anybody else if you're willing to learn. That does not mean that the bulk of the world isn't composed of people, because it is composed of people that want black and white, yes or no. That's fine. That's not what this is for. This is not for the typical troglodyte that lives his life vicariously via, nowadays, the internet. Or even the trog who lives his sporting glories vicariously by watching somebody else play football. Although there's a lot of crossover there. But the thing is, this is for people that actually want to go out, and they don't hear about overturned moments. They don't need to hear about even the term moment, unless a person can take a moment and explain what a moment is and what it means in terms of physics, then talking about the overturn moment is just a way of going, poke you in the eye. You can't Well, you know what? My eyes have been poked until I'm half friggin' blind. The simple fact of the matter is that the older I get, the more I find out that the smart people flat out don't exist. We are the smart people. So let's go out there with clarity of mind and explore this stuff. But here's the difference. I've taken the time and the money. I have been passionate about this for a long enough time now. I think back to the first bench rest gun. I was over 30 years ago. Doesn't seem like it because it's been so much fun. But you go from, okay, here's the gun and this is what it does. Bam! That's amazing. It's like a big old light going off. Everything that I thought I knew about accuracy is now out the window. Now it's interesting to go explore why. That's where it really, because if you want to be, first of all, you get exposed to true accuracy. Then you get exposed to competition. You got 10 guys with true accuracy, and all of a sudden, ooh. You know, this is a little bit like tuning race cars. You know, you get, or snowmobiles, or this is all the same kind of a thing. It's one thing to get into the racing, and it's, get your feet wet, get out, find out, do I like it? Then when you start showing a little success, you're like, okay, how do I gain that edge? How do I, and this is where the why comes in. And when you're out there asking why, and you're getting fed BS, you couldn't understand this. This will never be about you couldn't understand this. And the other thing is, we're going to build some guns, we're going to do some projects, and we're going to show you in real time what a winning group looks like. There's so little. I watch these videos about ELR, extreme long range, we're into this, and they hit some whack-a piece of plate out there in the middle of nowhere. There's no real time, there's no, yeah, they're shooting 2 miles. Shooting 2 miles is stupid. I got a 2-mile gun. Oh, that's a 2-mile gun right there, as a matter of fact. But so what? It's luck. I mean, you go out, you check, you throw a few down there, to try to dial on to 2 miles. I had a guy, this guy was saying, oh, yeah. Do you want to be one of those people that can hit this tomato at 600 yards on the first shot? BS! My BS motor goes, BS! I shoot with the best shooters on the planet, with the most accurate stuff on the planet, and there's not one of them that would stand up and say, I can hit that tomato first shot at 600. The gun can, and you get me on target and I can put 10 in that tomato. That's not the issue, people. There's conditions. We don't know what's good. There's a lot. And the same guy a little while later is going, yeah, if you're in that state of mind where, or in that position, like some people are in this country, but because of brush and stuff, you can't get shots beyond 600 yards. And I just, dude, do you have any friggin' clue how far 600 yards is? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Only a small fraction of the people on the North American continent have access to unrestricted places to shoot 600 yards. I live in Washington State. Elk country is a half hour up the road from me. There's mountains. I could take off walking from here, and I could walk in a couple of specific directions for 200 miles. Not hit a house. I'd have to pick my direction carefully but the point is, if I walk northeast out here, there's mountain ranges and there's, okay, pretty big country. We spent 2 summers driving around up there looking for a 600-yard shot. Never did find it. It's hard to find. Now, out in the prairies, out in the middle, there's spots, but now there's houses, there's cars, there's downrange story, there's 600. The idea that, well, yeah, if you're one of those people that, you can keep your gun down low, if brush and stuff's good. Dude, I just cut $5,000 worth of timber out of my shooting range so that I can get a 600-yard shot out my window. It's a choice I made. I went out there with my 4-foot bar chainsaw and I started whacking trees. 3 different times we went out there and we whacked trees and we cut holes until we could get through and get up to a 600-yard shot with elevation in it. This is not about if you can't see 600 yards because it's too brushy. That's a ridiculous statement. It has to be so clear and so line of sight for you to see 600 yards that, all that means is, again, trogs, as people, I've shot on a few ranges, have been out, but to actually think of going out and hunting, you got to be in a wide, 600 yards is a long ways. And the number one thing, this is where I'm going to start this, you need to have the accuracy. And we're going to show you what kind of accuracy. And what you get is a lot of people that are selling guns to each other saying, well, you know, I know that you can't really test this on a 100. We're going to show you what 600-yard groups look like at 100 yards. We're going to show you how to set your gun up to achieve an accuracy standard that anybody on any range that gives you 100 yards can achieve winning accuracy. And the bottom line is, if that gun doesn't shoot those little dots at 100 that equal that bigger dot at 600, it's not shooting. It's broken. I just threw away some targets here the other day. I don't know if I have them. I was going to show you what some broken targets look like. Okay, lucky me. Here's a group of shots. This just crossed my mind. This is what a group of shots look like at 100 yards from a broken 600-yard gun. And I can't go across here, but I shoot in a line. There's 3 lines of firings here. This gun is broken beyond repair. I was out here tuning. And the groups are just stupid after stupid. And I finally realized, this gun's broken. This gun cannot possibly be competitive at 600 yards. These aren't groups. These are shotgun blasts. So, what we're going to do is show you. And now there's people who say, well, if you shoot at 100, you're never going to be on a 60. You're tuning. We're going to talk about tuning. We're going to show you what tuning, sine wave tuning, actually is. Here's another BS call. Anybody, anywhere, on any video or any book who talks about nodes and anti-nodes and barrels flopping around and you want to shoot when but to stop the muzzle, that's an inside joke there, but you want to have the bullet exiting right where the muzzle is. Anything, if a node or anti-node comes up, BS. Guy does not know what he's talking about. Any phrase that includes the term moment, BS, unless he stops to say, by the way, what we mean when we're talking about moment, anybody who says overstabilized, nose high, there's a bunch of, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go through and show each of these things in real life, in real time, and show you how you, with your 100-yard range, can achieve true accuracy that will hold to 1,000, 1,500, 600, and then along the way we're going to show you 600 yards a long freaking ways, all right?